Josh Green here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Frank Smith here in Belfast ahead of Lewis Crocker Fight Week. Big opportunity for Lewis this week. How are you feeling?
Yeah, excited. It's great to be back in Belfast. We had a great night. Obviously didn't go Michael Conlan's way when we were here in December, but it was great to be back in Belfast after a long time for us and a tremendous atmosphere. So we're excited to be back, and it really builds up some big nights going into the rest of this year as well. So Lewis Crocker, big opportunity. Jose Felix, we've seen what he could do. He came over here he came to Dublin last year, was it? Yeah, last May, and tremendous performance from him. So in for a great night.
With Jose Felix, we've seen what he can do. He went and shocked Gary Cully. Is it going to be very important that Lewis doesn't make the same mistakes that Gary made?
Yeah, look, he looks in tremendous shape, Jose Felix. This is a fight at a slightly higher weight than he's used to, but he looks like he's in great shape, and he's not coming here he's coming here to win. And he feels he can get the win, and if he gets this win against Lewis Crocker, it sets him up for some huge fights in 2024. Lewis Crocker, obviously, we saw how good he was against Tyrone McKenna, but he's got to be focused. He's got to be focused, and he's got to go in there and know what's on the line, because there's big fights to be made for him as well this year.
This is a big start of a big run for Matchroom Boxing. You announced a few fight nights a couple of days ago now. Really exciting times. Of those fights that were announced, any that particularly piqued your interest?
Yeah, I think, look, there's some great nights now. I love the Dalton Smith-Zepeda fight on March 23rd. I think that's a brilliant fight. I think that's a real step up for him. Sandy Ryan, Terry Harper's another great fight as well. Then we go to April 6th, obviously. Hitchens has got a tough fight against Lemos. Lemos, we saw his win against Selby, obviously moved up then in weight to 140, but that's a brilliant fight. Gil Barrett's a great fight as well. That's a fight people are really interested in. I do love online and people's reaction of why is it in this arena. People, it's a great fight, but it shouldn't be in this arena. It's like, well, there's a limit to where we can go with things. And the McGrail-O'Quinn rematch as well. But I actually had a meeting before I came here, many more fights to be announced for all of those shows, and lots more to look forward to, and further announcements as we look into another show to be announced in March, and then some more shows in May, obviously.
What is the reasoning for Gil Barrett in the Manchester arena?
Because like I say, there's a limit to venues. I'm not sitting here saying it's going to sell 20,000 tickets, but I think we can do 5,000-6,000 tickets for that show, and we can make it look really good in there. But I would love to take it to a venue that holds 5,000-6,000, but there isn't one. They don't exist. In a lot of these places, you've got a venue that holds 1,000-2,000, or you've got somewhere that holds 13, 15, 17, 20,000. So you're kind of limited on it. But the focus for us is making good fights, and I believe that's a great fight.
Touching on Sandy Ryan, Jessica McCaskill was, in many people's eyes, what she may be looking towards the rematch of that. Why did you decide to go in the direction of Terry Harper instead?
Because I think it's the bigger fight, in all honesty. I think it's a fight people will be more interested in. I think, look, Sandy, unfair result in that fight. She deserved to win that night. And Jessica McCaskill had some mandatories ordered, which meant that we couldn't do that rematch straight away. But I do believe the Terry Harper fight's a bigger fight, and will be, bring more interest, and it is better for her career right now, in all honesty.
Something else we're looking forward to is that Hearn versus Warren, Matchroom versus Queensberry card that was sort of semi-announced, I guess, fully announced maybe a couple of weeks back in Saudi Arabia. The fans have had their say on that one, and they've been putting some matchups forward. I'd like to ask you on a couple of them. Johnny Fisher against David Adelaide, what about that? Is that too much of a step up for Johnny, do you think? Or?
I don't think that's a fight we're going to do right now, but we're working through firstly the weight divisions. We haven't finalised weight divisions or anything like that. Obviously, as we announced in the press release, we're going to announce the fights on Fight Week of Joshua Ngannou in Saudi, which is March 8th. We've got a bit of time to that. We're going to do a bit of work over the next week or so, the next couple of weeks, to get the fights together. There's some great fights to be made. There's probably 10 or 12 different fights. So we're just working through those options right now, and should have some news soon.
Is there a possibility that could become a yearly thing over in Saudi? Because definitely the attention it's getting is great for the sport.
Yeah, 100%. Look, it's great for the sport that we're now working together. Look, we never weren't working together. It's just a lot easier now than it probably was in the past, and the relationship is a lot better, being open with you. So yeah, if we can do that much more often, I think it would be great for the sport and bringing the best fights together between us. At the same time, we have both got our own contracts. We have to deliver for our broadcasters, and we'll continue to do that. But yeah, I think it's going to be good for the sport, and I think generally the fights being made and the involvement of His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh in boxing has been a great plus for the sport. And we know what we need to do. We need to deliver great fights people want to see. And maybe in recent times we haven't seen enough great fights. And that's why boxing has probably taken second place to the likes of UFC. Because they make great fights, they put people in against each other, and that's got to be the focus for us now.
Somebody I would like to ask you about is Joshua Buatsi. We've learnt this week about the lawsuit between Matchroom and Sky Sports and BOXXER. Is there anything else you can tell us about that?
No, look, that will be dealt with via the legal route by people much smarter than me. Look, all we have to do is we have to protect our legal position. When we work hard to deliver for someone's career and a contract isn't followed, but I can't really go into much more detail than that. It's an ongoing case, and I'm sure we'll have news soon.
Is it disappointing for someone you worked with for such a long time in Joshua Buatsi that this is sort of where it's gone and what it's come to? Because I know when Joshua was with Matchroom, he was very much tipped as a big star of the sport.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. Look, he won't be the first fighter to leave Matchroom, he won't be the last fighter. You get used to it over time. You work very hard to deliver for people. I think we did a tremendous job for Joshua Buatsi. But there's a lot of people involved in boxing who don't quite know the business, and I don't think, let's look at the movies made across to Sky and BOXXER. He fought last May in a fight no one was really interested in, and he's now really, no disrespect to Dan Aziz, but we offered Joshua Buatsi a world title shot against Joshua Buatsi, the number one in the division, for a load of money, and he didn't want to take it, and he's now fighting Dan Aziz at Wembley Arena. He's had 2 fights in 18 months or something like that by the time it comes around, but it is what it is. Like I say, it won't be the last, but the grass is always greener.
We talked about some of the fights that have been announced. One that I think fans are looking forward to, a possibility of Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor taking on a rematch. Is there any sort of update you can give on that? Is that something that Matchroom are looking to be involved in?
Not yet. No update just yet. It's a fight. It's a great fight. It obviously has to stack up and make sense for everyone involved. So we're looking at the possibility now, and hopefully news soon on that one.
Kell Brook's name has been mentioned over the last couple of weeks and linked with Chris Eubank Jr. Would you like to see Kell come out of retirement?
Look, I think Kell's had a tremendous career and done some amazing things. I think there could still be fights interesting. I think there was a lot of talk previously where he wasn't really interested in the Eubank fight, and there was more. He was focused more on the possibility of a Conor Benn fight. I think that's a great fight, but we'll see. I'm sure he's. Whatever happens, he's been out for a long time, so he's going to have to do it the right way. He's going to have to do the weight the right way, and I think that will take a period of time, and he'll probably be back in the summer if he does come back.
Would that be a worry with the time out of the ring, that it may be too much to go straight into a big fight with a Eubank or a Conor Benn?
I think, look at Conor Benn. Conor Benn had 16 months out of the ring, and he's had one fight in September. It would be ideal to have a run out, but I just don't think it's the reality at that stage in his career, being honest with you.
Final one, we spoke to Thomas Hauser a couple of days ago now regarding what we've seen going on in Saudi and the big matchups between the likes of AJ and Ngannou. He said that when Eddie speaks, it's very contradictory of himself regarding things like that. What are your thoughts?
In what way? I don't. In what way?
Critical of big fights that are made over there, and then I believe when the likes of Ngannou are taking on Tyson Fury and changing his mind maybe in terms of taking on AJ.
I think honestly Ngannou changed a lot of people's minds as well, showing what he did in that fight. I'm not saying Tyson Fury went in the best he's ever been, but he put Tyson Fury, who is renowned, is known as the number one heavyweight in the division, and an amazing fighter in the sport. Francis Ngannou had never had a fight before and went in there in his first fight and put Tyson Fury down. Many people believe he won that fight. I think it was a lot closer than some people think. And that changed people's mentality as well of whether Ngannou was ready for these fights. I think it's a huge fight. I always said personally, I could completely understand why they were doing the fight. I'd never questioned the fight. I think it was more the fact of someone who'd never had a professional boxing fight before in their career going in against arguably the best heavyweight right now. That was more the question marks. But, it ended up being a great fight, and it was a great event. I always said it would be a great event and a massive event. Look, Thomas Hauser's an interesting bloke.
Is Ngannou now a top 10 heavyweight in your opinion, or
Top 10 heavyweight? It's hard to say. He's obviously got a great ranking now with the WBC off the back of that Tyson Fury fight. I just think they can. The great thing about heavyweight boxing is they can all beat each other on their best night. They can all go in there and beat each other, and that's why we love it so much. That's what keeps people intrigued. And people will be sitting there waiting for Ngannou thinking, can he do what he did to Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua? So that's why people are excited.
Thank you very much, Frank. We'll speak to you tomorrow.
Cheers, mate. Good to see you.